over to you, Cerise, for your case study.
Thank you, Henry. Okay, so I'm going to jump straight in. So the problem that I was assessing during this program was that we believe people with sickle cell anemia are frustrated by the support they receive from the healthcare system. So I'm going to start by just outlining the process that I went through to determine whether this hypothesis is true or not. So the first step is understanding the main challenges faced by this niche and really digging deep into what their emotional experience is with dealing with the healthcare system with their condition. The next was to ideate and identify what opportunities there might be to alleviate those frustrations that they're facing on a day-to-day basis. The next was to create an offer based on that initial research and validate the minimal viable offer that I came up with. So the goal here was really to confirm whether the offer I was making resonated with their needs. The next was to build a prototype, so non-functional prototype that gave them the experience of what the solution might look like to see if this is something that would truly help them. On the back of that was learning, so testing the assumptions that I made with building the prototype, verifying if it was moving in the right direction and really solving the problems that they were facing. And then finally is deciding whether or not to continue investing more time and money once the strategy is aligned with what the niche are actually seeking in this solution or offer. So I'm going to go through the objectives and the sort of the journey I went through to get to the end result. So the first was achieving a problem market fit. So validating that these frustrations with the medical industry and receiving attention when they have an emergency is actually a real acute problem for them. So I wanted to start out by getting a better understanding of what their experience was. So I sort of did field research, going on to blogs, Instagram, forums where people would talk in their natural environment and really see like what emotions were they evoking, how did they identify, and from that I sort of learned that they identify as warriors and soldiers who are like sort of fighting their condition day to day. And I actually experienced firsthand with the healthcare system some of the things that they were alluding to as well. And I learned that community is very important for them. So when I did go out to request interviews, there was quite a very high response rate and interest in engaging further. So I managed to complete 9 interviews and identify quite a few acute problems within the space. So this is just an example of my ideation board. The research I did involved listening to podcasts, going to forums, as I mentioned, and seeing what people were posting about. And through the interviews, I was able to come up with quite a few frustrations and potential avenues for solutions that we could create. The next objective was to validate that the offer was a good fit. So the first MVO, minimal viable offer we come up with was we help people with sickle cell anemia get quality and hassle-free healthcare. There was a 34% response rate from Instagram outreach using that messaging, which I think was quite good. And by doing competitor analysis, creating a blue ocean strategy and seeing what things this offer would deliver compared to what else was out there, I sort of learned that there wasn't really much serving this niche. So it was very underserved. So there was a lot of opportunity to support them with a solution here. And I also learned about connecting a bit more with the emotions that they feel. And that was through the product story canvas and also defining the product vision. So just on the left there was like the initial landing page we had. I had no idea what to call it, so it was very around the theme of sort of having armor and around the sort of warrior theme, but it did still have quite a good response, as I mentioned. So concluding that stage, I started off with the sort of vision, quality and hassle-free healthcare, but ended up determining that it was actually quite important when that happens. So it is when they are in crisis, which is the term for when they have an emergency with their condition. It's called a crisis. So this was giving quality healthcare and assistance when in crisis, which resonated better. Next, I wanted to test and validate that a medical assistance app is actually valuable for the target group, and it's something that's feasible as well. So once I iterated on that landing page, over 30% of website visitors signed up for the beta program. I was able to think more about the strategy and long-term considerations for how this would be a viable business through the lean canvas, which was quite helpful to think about. And also in sort of outlining the customer journey. This was an area I struggled on actually. So initially, I wasn't really as clear on what that would look like, but by having more conversations, I was able to clarify it. And I did determine with a lot of the ideas that I came up with that many of them were actually quite impactful, and sort of some of them were quite easy to do. So I had a number of different options I could go down. So with the customer journey map, I completely scrapped my initial thoughts, and just having just conversations really helped to better understand what people with sickle cell anemia go through when they are having a crisis and how they might interact with an app. So I was glad to be able to sort of clarify what that would look like. And then the last stage was about validating, once the prototype was there, is this really delivering the core value that we claim, which is having easy access to emergency care information when they are having a crisis. So I was able to complete 3 beta tests using the non-functional prototype. I did confirm through the product market fit engine that easy, quick access, having all of the right information were the key benefits that they derive from using it. But I did also learn that the sort of click-through layout, the way of accessing that information could be simpler in some ways. And particularly because when they are having a crisis, they may not be able to engage in the app in the same way they might when they're not in crisis. So the next step that I want to progress in with this objective is building the actual no-code prototype from the non-functional prototype that we have at the moment. So here I've sort of identified a few of the things that have been suggested that can be changed. I wanted to make sure that when I was receiving feedback about things that could be improved, I was thinking, how does this align with the vision and our statement of helping when in crisis? Because some things, for example, medication reminders, once they've been discharged, wasn't really linked with that, that zone of when they're in crisis, when they're in hospital. So I wanted to be careful not to get distracted thinking about too many improvements to make. But this is just a quick look at the prototype and what it was like for the users to engage with it. I did start out with something a lot more complex, so it was nice to sort of distill it down and really focus on the core thing that we are trying to deliver for them. So product market fit engine results. were that it was simple, easy to navigate, and everything was all in one place. But the things to improve, as I mentioned before, was the layout of the information, having even quicker access to certain things, and also some information that would be useful that wasn't included. And yeah, just to build it, make it something real. So it wasn't just clicking things that didn't do anything. So there was quite a lot of excitement about knowing what the next steps were in this project, which was good to hear. So in terms of next steps, short term, as I mentioned, I want to build a no-code prototype so that I can present it to more people who can get a fuller experience of what it's like to use it. So that would involve testing with more beta users, and then just iterating improvements using the PMF engine, so that I can focus more and more on that core value that we're delivering. Long term, beyond that, one thing I identified is that the information that we are aiming to present to the medical practitioners isn't something that these patients always have access to. So I'd want to be able to find a way to support them in acquiring that. So then when they do have a crisis, they have access to that information. So that would be the second step. And then finally, moving beyond the scope of helping just when in crisis and going to hospital into supporting them in managing their condition as a whole. So their appointments that they may need to go to, their medication, tracking their consultation notes, so that it's more holistic, not just in crisis, but in general for them. And finally, something I want to continue with keeping at the fore when making decisions is to always ask questions and put that above making assumptions. There are a few points when, due to, I guess, a lack of experience with the niche, I was a bit stuck, and it always helped to go back to asking them questions and just having a conversation to release those blocks. And then getting user feedback as soon as possible, instead of sort of continuing on and going down a certain track, which may be based on an assumption, for example, to continuously check in with people within the niche. And then also thinking about the human experience, not just the user experience with the app directly, but what other things are going on with them, what are they feeling, and how can this sort of integrate into their overall experience. And then finally, staying focused and making changes and improvements and taking actions that are aligned with the vision and the value that we want to deliver for the group. Yeah, so that's how I'd like to continue. And just the final bit about me is that I am a passionate product manager, and I always lead with curiosity, and I'm okay to sort of ask the questions people aren't asking, or say the unsaid things, so that we can achieve results. And I repeatedly create value in everything that I attempt to do.
Awesome. Excellent. Yeah, really good. Okay, great. So I'm going to go just quick fire with comments on the presentation itself, and then we'll slow down and talk about sort of next steps and general feedback from the 8 weeks. So yeah, feel free to stop screen sharing if you want, or you can leave this. Oh, you can leave this up if you want. It doesn't matter.
I've already clicked it.
Don't worry. Either way. So on the problem at the beginning, you know what, I think good. I felt the only thing you missed was just pausing and saying what sickle cell is.
Oh yeah.
Because you can work it out. It's something related to healthcare. Obviously, I know what it is because we've spoken enough times. But I think it's a really key skill. Actually, is just particularly more you become a leader, the more you're actually talking to non-product people. So it's just simple terms. So actually, that came up a few times. So you mentioned the MVO right at the beginning with the process. And you said, well, it helps us validate the offer. And if it resonates, it's like, well, what does that actually mean? So it's, just pausing and putting it in really simple terms. It's like, so we did this MBO just to work out really, whether what our customers really valued, like to validate the strategy before we committed to building something. It can be literally as simple as that. Again, just putting it in really, how do you explain this to a 4-year-old or your 80-year-old grandmother? That kind of hat to have on, I think, is really important. On the objective one, yeah, I liked how you gave context at the beginning. You're like, so we're going to go through just the objectives and the journey, and then, you sort of told what was coming up, which was great. On objective one, I love that you sort of made the OKR format your own. I think it made a lot of sense that you added your findings, and it was a great way of telling us stories. It's like, here were the words that were coming up. And actually, I learned this about the niche and the problem. Great storytelling, and you're showing the value of product discovery as well. If you're pitching this to your boss or CEO at some point, it's helping people buy into the story. Like with the hero's journey we did in the workshop, it's buying into what you believe about the product as well. On objective one as well, on the ideation, looks great. I love the detail you've got with the user discovery calls and how they sort of map into the MBO. I thought you should have gone more high level though, and maybe just zoomed in on here's how it flows into the MBO, just the summary, and maybe given one example, for example. Because I go like, oh, it looks really cool, but actually I didn't take anything. If I were new to all of this, I don't think I would have taken something away from that. So again, it's just putting on that first principles, like make things super simple, helmet on or hat on even. Being very critical though, I'm always pushing you with these things. Otherwise it was very good. Objective two, again, you said MVO and minimal viable offer. It's like, well, what actually is that? So again, putting on that simple hat. On the outreach, I thought it was excellent that you qualified. So you didn't just go, and I got 34% conversion. You went, actually, that's good. And so I think that's really important, because otherwise someone's like, well, what does that mean? Again, imagine if you're pitching this, someone's going to go, well, 34%, wow, that's amazing. Maybe someone in marketing, CEO is like, wow, that doesn't sound like a good opportunity. So you qualified it really well. Blue Ocean, again, excellent. You explained why you did this and you're learning from it, right? You identified a gap because of the Blue Ocean, which I thought was really, really good. Landing page, same thing. You touched upon it, explain what we're doing with it. And it's great, actually, you zoomed in on that because it's just a very visual, memorable thing. It's something that someone's going to take away and you're going to influence them more effectively. On the vision, I thought it was excellent that you talked through this as an iterative process. I like that you had it at the top crossed out, to show that this is something you'd iterated upon. And implicitly, you're showing that the value of product discovery and that all your ideas are coming from the user. So what are you doing? You're implicitly showing to stakeholders that this is why I'm doing all this stuff, because we're getting really good ideas. On objective 3, one thing you missed out on, this is always because it's a presentation, right? It didn't really bridge in. So I thought you had really good storytelling throughout, but at this point you sort of pause and go, and then we tested a medical assistance app. And I'm like, well, how did you, where did that come from? I know where it came from, but for them, it's just like you've pulled, an idea out of nowhere. So just, again, it's that storytelling. It's like, so we did this and we came up with this nice vision. And after doing a workshop or a little bit of brainstorming, we thought we'd test out this concept, right? A medical assistance app. So really, it's just a one phrase thing. It makes a massive difference. Other point on objective 3, excellent web conversion. Was that 40% or something? 30, 40?
Yeah, but I mean, it was low number.
We get 5 or 10 max. So that's an established business. So that's good. And it shows us that really comes from specific targeting and a very specific compelling message. So it's great work there. Final point of objective 3. I think this is the big thing that was missing. You missed a trick, I felt, going into the lean canvas. Why do I say that? Because you need, ultimately, as a business product manager, you need to show that you understand this is a business. right? It costs money to build stuff. It costs money to hire people. What is the value for the business? So I felt you missed the trick by not going into Lean Canvas to show, hey, I'm Cerise, I'm super senior, I'm super experienced, I'm thinking about the business as well. I'm not just going off doing this fun discovery stuff. Like, no, I really, I know what the opportunity is. I know how to take advantage of it with the Lean Canvas. So I'd focus on that next time.
Okay.
Core value, again, you didn't explain the term. Most people are going to know, but it's really, really important that you're storytelling. It's like, here's this thing that people loved about the app. And, that's what we're really going to build around. That's what the vision is. That's what we're gonna deliver for the first version, because you're getting people excited again, like your team and stakeholders. They're just gonna go, let Cerise do whatever she wants. Here's 500K. Go do your thing. So all of these things are just helping you get people on your side. On the prototype, I thought it's great that you explained the learnings. Again, that's really good storytelling. You're showing this process that's evolving and it's building up momentum. And it gives context for your next steps, right? So it was clear to me why you had your roadmap after, why you were focusing on some things to improve, others to keep doing well, because you'd given that context around the prototyping testing process. Objective 4, again, I felt you missed a little trick with the effort impact. It's relatively self-explanatory, but 50-minute presentation towards the end, people are going to be tired. So just showing it, here are the things we thought would be really high impact and low effort. Okay. Simple as that. Just again, framing, giving a bit of context. I love though how you put everything in one, you sort of package the strategic roadmap in with the features into one effort impact, which was really cool. And I thought it was a really good way to visualize that, more powerful actually than the one we've done. So it's something I might adopt in the next cohort. And final thing, product market fit engine. I thought these were just good learnings. They're very solvable problems that you could, the layout, the quick access, useful info. These are things you could easily solve in a couple of iterations. And then you can, then go, right, once we've solved that, let's now move to full functionality. Yeah. Good. Yeah. So generally really good. I'm always pushing you because I know you're ambitious and I expect a lot from you. So generally very good. The storytelling was good. I think it's just those two things really of, again, treat people like 4-year-olds, put that hat on, explain stuff in super simple terms. And the second thing, just demonstrate your business, that you're a business person as well. And then, general comments, in your case, there's not much to say beyond, you've been super persistent. You've come in with a great mindset. You're clearly learning, you're iterating, like you're just putting the work in and really just hammering away at this, like this skill. Right, the mindset stuff, the frameworks, the actual putting it into practice. So I think in terms of next steps, it's really, I think do go with the no code. I think you get a lot of learning there. Product market fit engine in practice, as you're already planning to do, right? With this project also at work. Third thing, focus on business value, not just the user. And I think that'd be the big thing lacking with this as a, hard to see this as a business. That's fine, but in your day-to-day job, you need to remember products need to make money or they're going to close at some point. And then final 2 points, I think just be really confident. Like you've got the foundations, you've got really good experience. I like that phrase at the end. You say, the person that says the unsaid things. Just keep doing that. Keep doing what you're doing, really. Thanks. And then I think the final thing, we talked about these workshops as well, right? Again, just go do them. There's no, you can rewatch all the videos, you can get all the advice you want. You just need to go and do them at some point. That's where you're ultimately going to learn. Yes. Any thoughts, any comments from, on the case study, on the product as well? The journey?
No, thank you for the feedback. That's all really helpful. And yeah, I do agree about focusing more on the business. And I think even during the course, except for that competitor analysis and Lean Canvas, I wasn't really thinking as much about that. It was more about how can I help these people? So exactly, I think that's really good feedback.
Which again, it's super important, but you're always balancing the two things. I think in the tech world, there's a slight, over obsession with the user, and usually at the expense of the business. So it's always, ultimately, we want to build a great product people love, but we need to make some money from it at some point as well.
Yeah, exactly. You want to keep helping them. You need to make money.
Exactly. And that's the key point. Even if you're the most anti-capitalist person ever, it's gotta, if you want to keep helping people, it's got to make money. Unless you're like Uber or WeWork, where they just do not make money.
You could be lost making forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, thank you, Henry. That's really, really helpful. And I've loved the course. It's been amazing.
Awesome. Well, we'll stay in touch anyway. There's Ask Me Anything coming up. We're going to be really proactive now with the community. As I said, I think next steps is like, you've got the foundation, just you're somebody that I can say, go and just do it and you'll be fine, and just keep learning, keep iterating, and then you'll carry on growing as a product leader.
Thank you. All right. Well, happy Friday and enjoy the rest of your sessions.
Thanks. Have a great weekend, Cerise, and we'll speak soon.
Bye.
Bye.